from having an autistic son, I've learnt acceptance of differences. Not just that, I've learnt fascination with differences. I'm a poet myself, and I've learnt that watching my son Johnny try and make sense of the world is like watching a poet write a poem. He's trying to build or construct meaning in the world, and that's what poets do. And I've learnt courage from watching my son do that. Learnt courage from his bravery. I've learnt, that the bombardment, the sensory bombardment that's reaching Johnny every day, the bewildering world around him, and the fact that he copes with a smile on his face, that's taught me a lot. I've learnt a lot from my autistic son.
The queer community and the people on the spectrum, it's full of extremely diverse people. And people in the queer community have a higher proportion of people with disorders like ASD, like OCD, ADHD, things that make it harder for them to function how society wants them to, and at least more so than the cisgender heterosexual population. And they struggle to be accepted among their peers, struggle to accept themselves, and it can make things complicated. But my advice to them is, never let anybody make you feel like you're broken, like everybody deserves, love and to be happy and to find meaning for their life in their own way. And it's really easy, especially on the spectrum, to sort of compare yourself with a neurotypical or hear people compare you with neurotypicals. And you have to block that out, because you're not like them, and there are ways that you can use that as a good thing. It gives you a different outlook on the world. You might have some heightened ability in your niche topics of interest, and more importantly, you can give everybody, you can educate people on how they're different. But don't let anybody define that for you. Like, it's your life, and you deserve, everything, really.
We have to do it about race. Yeah. We have to do it about gender.
Yeah.
And we have to do it about neurodiversity. Those three things, if we address those three things, gender, race, neurodiversity, yeah, climate change will be addressed if we address those three things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's what it is to be human.
Well, why do you think you are so inspired about autism?
I think the autistic mind is utterly beautiful and utterly different from the neurotypical mind. And I think it's that difference that fascinates.
In the moment, things seem like a really big deal. I remember when I was getting bullied, when I had just started secondary school. I was 11, and it was all I thought about. It consumed everything, the fact that I was getting bullied. I had anxiety that just stemmed through every single part of my life. And now, it's been, 7 years? And I've barely ever think about that time in my life, and I've just completely moved on. And, when I look back at the way I react to certain things, I have this idea that, this is just so awful, and, this is I'm just never going to recover from this, and this is just going to be my life for forever. And so just trying to convey the fact that, it may seem really bad now, but in a few years you're just barely going to remember it, so it'll be fine. Don't just obsess over things.
What would it be like to feel like we were able to live and be and breathe freely for everybody? And I think pretty much none of us have ever fully had that experience, anybody on this planet. What does it mean to change fundamentally our relationship to work? To divorce our self-worth and our sense of value from our evaluation as contributing sufficiently to society or to a particular community? What does it mean to make ability to access healthcare, ability to access housing, ability to access food, ability to access community not contingent on ability to work?
People are realizing that autistic people have enormous skills and attributes. They have ways of seeing the world which are different and therefore beneficial, and they can instigate, sea changes in art and science and politics and everything else. Because one of the other things that people always say, they say it to me. They say, the thing is, Chris, you see things out of the box, or you think things out of the box, but there isn't a box. That's the thing. There's no box. I don't see a barrier to anything. I just see a distance that I'm trying to travel, whether I'm thinking about something or whether I'm making something. So again, I think that has to be an asset in terms of progress. And a lot of people are beginning to realise that, and therefore give autistic people the opportunity to exercise their skills by shaping their world so that they can be productive.
A lot of people just hear the phrase extreme male brain, or even just the phrase male brain or female brain, and they leap to the conclusion that this must be one of those, I think, would be a very sexist theory. Sort of assuming that this applied to all men or all women, when the theory very clearly doesn't do that. But if people haven't bothered reading the book or reading the articles where I kind of lay all this out, then it's very easy for people to misunderstand it. And so I think today, I think it's probably, this is actually quite a useful opportunity to publicly retract some of that language about male brains and female brains.
One way to look at it is just to use the old Serenity Prayer, or however you want to call it. I don't think it's a prayer, but it's the old accept the things you cannot change, your genes. Have the courage to have the serenity to accept the things you cannot change, your genes, the courage to change the things you can, change society, activism, and the wisdom to know the difference. And again, that's not a simple thing. And that to me is really neurodiversity in a nutshell, a new important sound for very age-old concepts of justice and fairness.
It occurred to me that what certain forms of ableism were saying was that there was only one normal type of human mind, and everything else fell short. If you didn't meet this sort of platonic ideal of normalcy, you had deficits and dysfunctions, and those deficits and dysfunctions defined you. Well, what if there isn't one type of human mind that is, the only type of human mind that is good? And that's something that we're learning in a lot of different ways. Like, for instance, the gay thing. There isn't one type of sexual orientation that is clearly the best, clearly the most normal. There is a wide variety, and there's a wide variety of gender identities. And, we're learning about the multiplicity of the universe and of life on Earth. And in fact, one might even say that, this sort of national freakout that America is going through now with white supremacists marching in the streets it's people fighting that recognition that in fact human life is diverse and various, and that diversity and variousness help us as a society. They're not things standing in the way of progress, they enable progress. And so I would say that neurodiversity is the recognition that in communities of human minds, experiencing things differently, conceptualizing things differently, being able to imagine things differently from some, phony, completely fictitious standard of normal is best for the future of civilization. And, if we survive this horrific era, and many of us will not, in the most dramatic sense because of COVID, but however much we survive this era, the world is struggling towards a recognition of diversity as a good thing in society, and I hope we make it.